There comes a season in life when everything that once felt close begins to slip away. Friends grow distant, the people you love feel far off, and even your own voice seems to fade into quiet. Loneliness moves in, not just on the outside, but somewhere deep within you. You may begin to ask yourself if anyone truly notices you, if you still matter in a world that feels a little colder every day. Through the lens of Buddhist wisdom, this solitude is not a sentence handed down to punish you. It is an invitation. It doesn't prove that you're unwanted or forgotten. It opens a quiet space, where awareness can expand and your real self can rise to the surface. Loneliness isn't your opponent, it's your teacher. As the Buddha put it, if you can't find a companion for the spiritual road, travel it alone. No companion outshines awareness itself. Even in your most silent, most music far-off moments, you are never completely alone. Banja 1. Loneliness is not a curse. It's a mirror showing you the self you forgot. Ambience. Most people picture loneliness as something dark, something painful to fix or dodge as fast as possible. We flip on the TV, scroll through our feeds, or fill our world with noise, not because we're genuinely occupied, but because sitting alone with our thoughts frightens us. But Buddhist wisdom doesn't treat loneliness as a punishment or a personal defect. It treats it as a gift, a mirror showing you things you've avoided facing. This mirror doesn't show music how the world views you. It shows how you see yourself once every distraction is peeled away. It quietly uncovers the dreams you set aside because life grew too chaotic, the emotions you buried under duties, the true self that once brimmed with wonder and curiosity but got muted by expectation, letdowns, and the pressure to belong. In loneliness, music nothing new is being discovered. You're simply uncovering what was there the whole time, music waiting under the surface noise. We tend to build our sense of self on how others treat us. When people show us affection, we feel we matter. Music, when they overlook us, we start doubting ourselves. We are ourselves. But living this way leaves you at the mercy of things beyond your control. Music, it keeps you hunting for approval instead of finding your own voice. Loneliness clears away the outside noise so you can finally hear what's happening within. At first, that quiet can feel unbearable, but eventually it turns into a space of honesty. Remember, music, even the Buddha, didn't find enlightenment surrounded by admirers or applause. He found it in deep music stillness beneath the Bodhi tree, alone with his thoughts, his fears, and his searching heart. He didn't flee the emptiness, he faced it, and through that music he found clarity. So the next time you feel entirely alone, resist the urge to run from it. Stop, breathe, and sit inside it. Your solitude doesn't prove that something's broken in you. It's a sacred ground where healing starts, where music clarity forms, and where the self you lost finds its way home. You don't need anyone else to complete you once you understand that being alone isn't a sentence, it's an opening. Solitude isn't hollow, it's brimming with truth. And once you stop dreading it, it becomes the most honest teacher you'll ever encounter. 2. You are not being punished, you are being protected and redirected. Blamed music. When people leave your life with no explanation, when relationships fall apart, or when you find yourself left out of groups, plans, or conversations, you might start to think you did something wrong. It can feel like a punishment, like life is stripping something away because you aren't smart enough, good enough, or worthy of love. That pain is genuine, but the story you tell yourself about it isn't always accurate. From a Buddhist lens, when something or someone vanishes from your life, music, it isn't always loss. It could actually be protection wearing a disguise. Life carries its own quiet intelligence. Music, sometimes it takes people away, not to wound you, but music to shield you from harm you can't yet perceive. Perhaps that friend was slowly depleting your energy, steering you away from your purpose, or feeding doubt into your mind. Perhaps that opportunity you longed for would have led you down a road that looked promising on the outside but was hollow underneath. You may not grasp why things are being taken from you right now, because you're still in the thick of the story. Understanding comes later, like daybreak after a long night. Buddhism teaches that clinging breeds suffering, music not only clinging to objects, but to people, plans, and expectations. When those attachments snap, it can feel like the ground music is vanishing beneath you. But what's truly occurring is this: you're being realigned. The people meant to walk beside you in your next chapter will arrive in that chapter, music not this one. And those who quietly step away are not music your adversaries. They simply don't belong in this leg of your soul's journey. This isn't a punishment. It's a profound reshuffling of your life to make room for something more in tune with your truth. Blean trust that not every loss is an error. Some are guided redirections. You aren't being deserted. You're being carefully music steered by something greater than your pain. One day you'll look back and see that the silence, the separation, and the loneliness weren't evidence you were unloved. They were signs that life was pulling you away from what was safe but small, preparing you for something bigger than you could picture. So the next time you wonder why nobody stayed, why everything shifted, or why you were pushed into solitude, remember this: life isn't shutting doors to punish you. It's opening ones you can't yet see. And sometimes to rise, you first have to stand alone, not because you fall short, but because you're finally becoming who you were always meant to be. Dying 3. The universe you're searching for outside already lives within you. Belanja. When loneliness sets in, it's natural to look outward for comfort. You might check your phone hoping someone thought of you. You might scroll endlessly hoping to feel a connection. You might sit in silence wondering why nobody reaches out. In those moments, your heart longs for someone to make you feel seen, cherished, and understood. But Buddhism gently reminds us that the connection we're truly after, that feeling music of belonging, calm, and completeness, doesn't reside outside us. It's already there inside. From the Buddhist view, everything in this world is woven together. The same breath filling your lungs travels through forests, oceans, and stars. The same energy running through mountains and rivers runs through your veins. You aren't separate from the universe. You're an expression of it. You don't need to chase approval or attention to feel valuable. You were born with worth already intact. You're already part of something far vaster than you realize. Blands. When you sit quietly, you aren't fading away. Music, you're growing. Your awareness widens like the sky. Your breath becomes an anchor tying you to every living thing. Music, you start to sense a stillness, a presence that was always there but drowned out by noise. That presence is your inner self, and it isn't hollow. It's overflowing with music, life, love, and wisdom. It doesn't need fixing or filling by someone else. It only needs remembering. The Buddha taught that much of our suffering comes from forgetting who we truly are. We forget that we're already complete, that we're already sufficient, that we don't need endless reassurance from outside to feel at peace inside. When you begin to view yourself not as someone missing love, but as someone already built from love, something shifts. The loneliness grows lighter. The silence turns sacred. Instead of thinking, no one cares about me, try asking, have I cared for myself today? Instead of thinking, no one sees me, music ask, have I taken the time to see my own heart? Because the truth is, once you return home to yourself, you'll never be truly alone again. So the next time you're sitting in your room feeling unwanted or invisible, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and remember, you are not a fragment cut off from the universe. You are the universe experiencing itself through your life. The peace you're seeking isn't distant. It's already alive inside you, patiently waiting to be noticed. 4. Suffering music isn't the end, it's the beginning of spiritual awakening. To lands when you're hurting, especially from being alone, your first reflex is often escape. You want relief, and you want it fast. You reach for distractions, for reassurance, for anything in there that will dull the ache. Music, but Buddhism teaches something entirely different. It teaches that pain isn't a problem to dodge. It's a signal, a sacred knock at your soul's door asking you to go deeper. In fact, music, it's often in your darkest moments, when everything seems shattered, when nobody's around, when your heart feels weighed down, that the real path to inner growth starts to open. When Siddhartha Gautama walked out of his palace, he didn't step into ease. Music, he stepped into suffering. He witnessed sickness, aging, and death, and it rattled him. But rather than turning away from it, music, he leaned into the discomfort and began asking profound questions. Why do we suffer? What causes human pain? Music, how do we find genuine freedom? And in chasing those answers, he became the Buddha, the one who awakened, your loneliness isn't pointless. It's a doorway, a starting point. Yeah. That it hurts means your soul is paying attention. The heaviness in your chest isn't merely sorrow. Music, it's an awakening. It's the part of you craving truth over comfort, growth over distraction. And even though it's hard, this is where transformation takes root. This is where you start peeling away the false layers built music from outside expectations, layers of needing approval, music needing to feel needed, needing to always be surrounded to feel whole. But pain has a peculiar way of lowering the world's volume and raising your inner truth. It strips away the masks. It clears the haze. It exposes where your peace was resting on unstable ground. And while this can feel harsh, it's actually sacred music because it forces you to build something authentic, something enduring, something no one can strip from you. The Buddhist path doesn't guarantee a life free of suffering. It teaches that suffering is woven into life, but also that it carries the seeds of freedom. When you stop fleeing your loneliness and instead approach it with curiosity, you begin noticing what's truly happening inside. You start to heal, not by shoving the pain aside, but by understanding it, sitting with it, breathing through it. Jamdhyatnya moments aren't punishments. The hardest moments of your life aren't punishments. Music. They're openings. You may not see it now, but this sorrow, this quiet, this ache of feeling unseen, it's readying you. It's refining you. It's molding you into someone stronger, wiser, more compassionate, and more awake than ever before. So don't hurry through this part of your journey. Don't try to numb the pain too soon. Let it speak. Let it teach. Because tucked inside the suffering you wish would disappear is the very awakening your soul came here searching for. 5. Your loneliness is felt by every being. You're not alone in feeling alone. Bleens when loneliness wraps around you like a cold blanket. It often whispers a dangerous lie, that you're the only one who feels this way, that no one else understands, music, that everyone else is connected, joyful, loved, and surrounded while you sit quietly with your thoughts, unnoticed and untouched. You glance around and see cheerful faces, flawless lives on screens, happy families in parks, and you begin to think something must be wrong with you. You start asking, why me? Why am I the only one who feels this invisible and forgotten? Unbalanced, but Buddhism offers a very different, freeing truth. You are not alone in feeling alone. The pain you're carrying right now doesn't prove your isolation. It proves your humanity. Everyone at some point carries this same weight. The ache of disconnection isn't unique to you. It's something every human soul meets somewhere along life's road. Even the people you envy, the ones who seem to have it all, music have sat in silence at night, wondering if they truly matter. Even those who look strong and surrounded have known moments of feeling completely lost inside. In Buddhist teaching, this shared suffering is called dukkha, the unavoidable pain woven into every living being's experience. It isn't a flaw, it's part of being human. To suffer isn't to fail. Music is to be alive, and buried within that shared suffering is the root of compassion. Because the instant you realize others hurt too, that others carry their own hidden burdens, something softens in your heart. You stop feeling like a broken outcast and begin to sense that you belong to something larger. You're part of the human story, music, and your chapter, however lonely it feels, isn't disconnected from the rest. It's linked invisibly, music beautifully. This realization doesn't always erase the pain instantly, but it changes how you carry it. Instead of seeing your loneliness as a wall separating you from others, you start seeing it as a bridge connecting you to the hearts of people everywhere who are also silently wondering if they're alone. You begin to carry your pain with tenderness instead of shame. You begin listening more deeply, speaking more honestly, and music loving more gently because you know what suffering feels like, and that knowledge becomes your gift. Consider monks who live alone for years. They aren't fleeing the world. They're embracing a deeper connection that doesn't come from constant music interaction, but from quiet understanding. When they meditate, they do it not just for themselves, but for all beings. They sit music in silence not because they're isolated, but because they feel bound to the entire web of life. This is the essence of Buddhist compassion. Music recognizing that we're all walking together even when our paths appear separate. Aline, the next time you feel like nobody cares, try this gentle exercise. Close your eyes and picture someone else in the world, someone unknown to you, feeling the exact same pain. Maybe it's a mother alone in a quiet apartment, music a student sitting on their bed in the dark, an elderly man watching rain from his window, a teenager crying in a school bathroom. Breathe in their pain, breathe out love, silently say, "Music, I see you, I feel what you feel." May you find peace. What you're doing in that moment is dissolving the illusion of separation. You're remembering the invisible thread linking all of us, the shared longing to be seen, to be loved, music to feel less alone. Ben, this isn't just poetic language, it's a deep truth. Behind every mask lies a story. Behind every smile lies a struggle. Behind every stranger's eyes lies a heart that has known sorrow. Once you grasp this, not just in thought, but in your bones, you'll never view loneliness the same way again. It stops being something to flee. Music, it becomes something to understand, to use, and to grow through. So the next time you sit alone, weighed down by the heaviness of silence, remember your pain isn't proof of isolation. It's your connection. It's your reminder that you're human. And in being human, you're never truly alone, not in your suffering, music, not in your search for peace, and not in your quiet hope to feel whole again. 6. Your worth isn't measured by who notices you. It's rooted simply music in being. Malene, in today's world, it often feels like your value hinges on your visibility. How many people text you? How many followers you have? How many likes, compliments, invitations, and validations you rack up? If music, no one reaches out. If your phone stays silent, if no one seems to care, you begin to question yourself. You start believing your worth is shrinking, that you've somehow become less important, less lovable, or less relevant simply because the world's gone quiet around you. Banda, but this belief isn't music true. It's the noise of a culture that has forgotten how sacred simply existing can be. Buddhism teaches that your real value doesn't hinge on how others react to you. It doesn't rise when praised or fall when ignored. Your worth isn't a vote. It isn't a performance. It isn't something you must prove, earn, or beg for. Your worth simply exists. Just as a mountain doesn't need to shout to be majestic, and a flower doesn't need an audience to bloom, you don't need to be seen to hold value. Your existence, your breath, your consciousness, these are already extraordinary. Think of the sun. It rises daily, quietly offering light, warmth, and life to the world. Most people never notice it. They go about their day without glancing up, without acknowledging the gift of its presence. But the sun doesn't stop shining just because nobody applauds. In the same way, music you must learn to shine, not for attention, not for praise, but because that's your nature. Your inner light isn't for display, it's for guidance, for truth, for you. Too often we tie our self-worth to others' opinions. We think if they love me, I matter. If they ignore me, I don't. But this mindset hands away your power. It puts your peace in the hands of people who may not even understand themselves, let alone understand you. Buddhism points toward a different path, a return to the self, a deep awareness that your value isn't negotiable. It isn't up for debate. It isn't conditional on anyone else's opinion. When you sit in silence and breathe, you begin to feel it, that quiet presence within you, that stillness that doesn't shout or crave but simply is. It's easy to miss when life is loud, when you're constantly comparing, constantly waiting to be chosen, to be acknowledged. But in moments of solitude, once the distractions fall away, you start realizing something powerful. You were never lacking. You were simply looking in the wrong place. Even nature reflects this truth everywhere. A tree doesn't rush to grow taller because another tree grew faster. A river doesn't question its flow because no one's watching. Everything simply fulfills its purpose quietly, confidently, naturally. Music, and so can you. You weren't made to compete or impress. You were made to live, to breathe, to feel, to love. And these things don't need validation to be real. They're real because you're here. The pain of feeling unnoticed often stems from a deeper misunderstanding that we must constantly prove we're enough. But imagine a life where you no longer chased anyone's attention, where your silence wasn't emptiness but fullness, where you didn't wait for someone to choose you because you'd already chosen yourself. This is what Buddhism points us toward, a peaceful mind grounded in awareness, a self shaped not by popularity but by presence. Malayan, the monks sitting deep in meditation within temples, aren't there because crowds praise them. They aren't concerned with recognition. Their joy springs from within, from stillness, from breath, from the simple act of being fully present. And that same joy is available to you, music, right now. You don't need a perfect life. You don't need an audience. You don't need approval. Music, you just need to return to yourself. Pandians. So if today feels still, if your phone stays quiet, if it seems like nobody cares, don't panic. Don't spiral into doubt. Just breathe. Sit with yourself. Feel your heartbeat. Notice your breath moving in and out. That rhythm is life. That is enough. You are enough. Your worth isn't handed to you by others. It's something you were born carrying. It lives in your calm, music in your honesty, in your quiet capacity to simply exist with awareness. You don't need to be noticed to shine. You don't need love from others to love yourself. You don't need to be heard to have a voice. The strongest presence is the one that doesn't beg for attention because it has already found peace within. And that peace, quiet, deep, and steady, music waits for you in the silence beneath the noise, beneath the need to be seen. Once you find it, you'll never confuse attention with worth again, because you'll know you matter simply because you exist. 7. This feeling will pass. Even loneliness doesn't last forever. Be in some moments in life feel infinite. Moments when sadness runs deep, when silence feels loud, when loneliness feels so heavy you start believing it'll never lift. You sit with your thoughts, your doubts, your aching heart music, and it feels like nothing will change. Days blur into nights, and nights seem to stretch endlessly. You start wondering if this emptiness will linger forever, if the distance, music, the isolation, the feeling of being forgotten will define the rest of your path. But Buddhism offers one of the most liberating and healing truths you'll ever hear. Nothing lasts music forever. Not happiness, not pain, not even loneliness. Everything is temporary. Everything shifts. This idea, anicca, or impermanence, is one of the Buddha's central teachings. It reminds us that no state, no feeling, no circumstance stays fixed. Everything is always in motion. Music life isn't built from solid blocks. It flows like a river. What you feel today, however intense, isn't the final word. It's just passing weather in the wide sky of your being. The clouds may hang dark and heavy with rain, but they aren't the sky. Music, the sky stays open and untouched, making room for everything to come and go. When loneliness runs deep, it can feel like you're stuck in a loop with no exit. But what you're feeling isn't a life sentence. It's a moment, an intense, painful, maybe even transformative moment. But still, just a moment. Think back to your past. Can you recall the deepest pain you've ever felt? The heartbreak, the betrayal, the failure? At the time, it felt like it would never end. But it did. Not all at once, and not without leaving marks, but it passed. And this will too. The pain you feel now isn't permanent. It's a visitor, not a resident. And like every visitor, it will leave once its time is up. And understanding impermanence doesn't mean brushing your feelings aside or pretending you're fine. It means sitting with your loneliness in gentle awareness. Music, you let it exist fully. Yes, I feel alone. Yes, this hurts, but this too will pass. When you do this, something slowly shifts. You move from being trapped inside the storm to watching it unfold. You become the music observer, the witness. And in that space, you uncover something deeper than the feeling itself, a calm awareness that can hold even your music pain with kindness. The Buddha often spoke of the lotus flower. It grows from the mud, rising through murky water toward the light. It isn't harmed by the mud, it's shaped by it. Your loneliness is the mud. And you are the lotus, slowly rising, reaching, becoming something new. It may feel messy right now. It may seem like the light is far away. But every mindful breath you take is a step upward. Every moment you choose to stay present with your pain instead of fleeing it, music marks growth. Malthus, the danger of forgetting impermanence is that we start letting pain define who we are. We say things like, I'm always alone, or no one ever stays, or this is just who I am. No, but these are stories, not facts. They're the mind trying to make something fleeting feel permanent. The moment you say, this is how it will always be, you close the door to change. But when you say, music, this is how it is right now, you open space for healing. You let life surprise you, and it will. The seasons remind us that nothing stays fixed. Winter can feel long and cold, but spring always returns. A tree that looks lifeless today will bloom again. Music, your heart will too. Your joy will come back, not by force, but through flow. All you need to do is stay grounded, stay patient, be gentle with yourself, and trust that what you feel now is part music of something larger you may not yet fully grasp. You aren't broken because you feel lonely. You are human. You are living out the raw truth of being alive. Music, and just like waves that rise and fall, this feeling will rise and fall too. One day you'll look back on this moment not with anger, but with gratitude. Because it taught you to sit with yourself, it taught you to listen, music taught you to feel, and in that quiet, something sacred happened. You began to wake up. Lindas. So if you're hurting right now, remember this: your loneliness isn't forever. It isn't your future. It isn't who you are. It's a moment in time, a cloud drifting across your sky. Let it pass.